What's going on, everybody? My name is Michael Weir, and I like to talk about movies. With the 32nd entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we get Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, if you had told 17-year-old Mike, who went to go see Iron Man 1 on a nice summer day so many years ago, that, hey, you're going to get not one, not two, but 3 Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and you're going to get 4 Avengers movies, you would have completely blown my mind more than it was already blown, because I was already just thinking about how are they going to put together the Avengers initiative, and here I am caring about a talking raccoon and a talking tree in Guardians of the Galaxy. With all that said, we're going to get into all things Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 here, including a few spoilery things, but I will save those for the end of the video, and I will also warn you when those things are coming. Now, if this is the first time you found my channel, don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button. The like button helps the video and the channel, and the subscribe button will keep you up to date on all the content I'm putting out. Tons of movie reviews, Blu-ray updates. If that's your kind of thing, my channel is for you. With all that said, let's jump into my review for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
We'll all fly away together into the forever and beautiful sky.
And so Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is once again directed by James Gunn, and of course James Gunn has directed the previous 2 Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He also directed the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, and now he is the co-head of DC Studios, so this will mark the end of his directing in the MCU for at least the time being. Now, I'm very excited to see what James Gunn can do with the DC universe, but I'm going to miss his flavor of comedy and action mixed together into a heartwarming story, because I feel like that's what he's been able to do in the MCU. I'm definitely going to miss that. But we do get all of our favorite returning Guardians for this movie. You get Chris Pratt's Star-Lord, you get Gamora, Nebula, Drax, Groot, Rocket, even Mantis is back in this movie, and they bring in Cosmo the Space Dog. Now, did Cosmo the Space Dog come in the Christmas special? Because I don't remember them picking up Cosmo the Space Dog, but all of a sudden Cosmo's there, and I'm like, wait a minute, did I miss that in the Christmas special? Maybe I did. But to be fair to me, when I saw the Christmas special, I had COVID, and so I just kind of watched it over Christmas, and I was like, all right, well, I've seen it now, and I moved on. I don't even remember liking it very much, so I think I need to give it another try, and maybe that's where they introduced Cosmo. But for me personally, this was my first introduction to Cosmo, and I really enjoyed it. Like, at first I thought they were playing Cosmo off for laughs, but then I was like, oh, okay, wait a minute. There's actually a very important part of the story Cosmo has to this entire movie, and that was kind of cool. I don't know, it's just cool they threw in another character that I normally wouldn't have been looking for, and now I'm like, I want to see more of Cosmo. But James Gunn's always been good at that. As far as this movie goes, the movie is 100 miles an hour, and it starts with Adam Warlock attacking the Guardians of the Galaxy. Of course, we were teased Adam Warlock at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and of course, they've been showing set pictures of Will Poulter dressed as Adam Warlock, looking like Adam Warlock. We've seen so much Adam Warlock, so when the movie kicks off with him, I was like, all right, that's badass. And in this fight, one of the Guardians of the Galaxy gets severely injured, and they have to try to save this one Guardian of the Galaxy. I'm being very careful with what I'm saying because I don't want to spoil things for you guys, and it wasn't in the preview, but that's the setting for the movie. One of them is injured, and they have to go to a couple different places to try and save this individual's life. And because of that, it puts them on mission after mission after mission, trying to get to their final goal. Now, I know that's a very spoiler-free way to put this video, but I promise you that if I go into any more detail, I'll spoil something and someone will be upset. So with the synopsis basically out of the way, again, I'm sorry I can't give you much more of it. Let's get into my likes and my dislikes. The first thing I really like about the movie is how funny this movie is. Again, James Gunn's got that flair of comedy and action that he can put together so well. So the comedy in this movie is so well done. It's so funny. And just when they bring you so low in this movie where you're like, man, I can't believe this is going on, they find a way to make you laugh, and then you're right back into the movie laughing along with the Guardians. Mostly Drax and Nebula. I feel like Drax and Nebula have a very good back and forth throughout this entire movie. You do have some Star-Lord stuff because Chris Pratt's just a funny guy in general, but a lot of his stuff is more centered around wanting to save that one Guardian, and you've got the fact that Star-Lord and Gamora are sort of on the outs because this Gamora is from a different timeline, with Thanos, and I could talk all day about all of that, but I'm not going to. If you've seen the movies, you know what I'm talking about. So basically, you've got this Gamora that doesn't know Star-Lord, so he's more focused on trying to fix their relationship. But Karen Gillan as Nebula and Dave Bautista as Drax, they're very funny individuals anyway, and they're able to bring that comedy with each other, and then Mantis is sort of peppered in throughout those scenes to help make them even funnier. My next like for this movie is going to be the action. I've already talked about James Gunn's ability to merge comedy and action and do it well, and he does it very well. We already talked about the comedy portion. The action portion of this movie is great as well. I really like how they took their time with this movie. The CGI looks great, but oh my god, there's a scene in this movie where you've got the Guardians of the Galaxy all together showing off the height of their powers in what I'll call a hallway scene, because it seems like every superhero gets a hallway scene now, but my god, do they get one. They have this whole scene where the Guardians are up against this just horde of creatures, and they take them out in beautiful fashion. You get to see every single one of them do their thing. Slows down in that James Gunn fashion where it's able to slow down just a little bit so you can enjoy that action scene, and then boom, it's right back into it. I can't explain it better than that, but James Gunn does a good job with action scenes, and this scene was brilliant. I really loved the part with Gamora in this scene. She pulls that sword out. I was waiting for it the entire movie, and when she pulls that sword out, you get to see what Gamora can do, and I just love that. My final like for this movie is going to be the music selection. You've, of course, got James Gunn's ability to put pop culture hits into his Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He was able to do it with the 70s and then the 80s, and now in this one we get mostly 90s. Toward the end, you get a little bit of early 2000s because they've got that Zune. Remember at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Kraglin, who's played by Sean Gunn, had given Star-Lord as Zune and was like, this is the newest music on Earth. So of course now he's got updated to the 90s and early 2000s, and that's the music they play throughout this. I really just enjoyed all of the music throughout this movie. It worked really well for me. Every time they were going to go into battle, a new 90s song would start, and I was like, that's my shit. That's good stuff. So I was really enjoying the music selection throughout this movie as well. Now, I didn't think this movie was necessarily perfect. I do have some dislikes for this movie, but I want you to keep in mind that these are my dislikes and that you may have different dislikes, or maybe you absolutely love this movie and have no gripes whatsoever. Whatever the case may be, if you have thoughts about this movie, likes or dislikes, throw that in the comment section down below, because I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'd love to talk even spoilery things with you guys in the comment section. But getting into my dislikes, my first big overarching dislike for this movie that kind of ties in to the rest of my dislikes would be that there's elements of this movie that feel very rushed. The first thing I'm talking about that felt rushed is the normal Marvel Cinematic Universe gripe, and that is that the villain feels rushed. I feel like I didn't know this villain enough to care for this villain one way or the other. Now, Marvel has broken that trend lately, where you get some very in-depth characters and they spend a lot of time with them throughout their movie. I mean, hell, even Avengers Infinity War felt like a Thanos movie more than anything else, and so you could sympathize and understand, even though at the same time you wanted him to lose because he was so evil. But with the High Evolutionary in this movie, who is the ultimate baddie for this movie, you see some things that he's done. They don't make you like him at all. He's done some horrible things, but you just don't get enough time with him to really understand the character. At one point, Star-Lord says to him, oh, you just want to be another maniac that wipes out civilization. And he says, no, I want to create a better civilization. But that's like his whole thing. He just wants to create a better civilization. And I feel like we could have used a little more time with him to understand why he wanted to do that. The next character I think is a bit rushed would be Adam Warlock's character. Of course, we were introduced to him at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. He was still in his cocoon, and they were like, his name shall be Adam. And I was like, oh, he's going to be the big bad for the next Guardians movie. And then things changed, and he's not the big bad for the Guardians movie. In fact, he is sort of a 1B character aside from the High Evolutionary, who's just causing problems for the Guardians throughout the movie. And I feel like we could have done a lot more with his character, but I don't know if James Gunn was like, listen, this is my last Guardians movie. I want to see all of this come together. I want to use the High Evolutionary, but I already introduced Adam Warlock. He's my character. I want to use him. And he has a purpose throughout the movie, but again, I just feel like his storyline is a little bit rushed. They do some very dramatic things with his character, and I don't want to get into those because it's spoilery. They do dramatic things with his character, and it just I didn't feel it. I was like, I've only known you for 15 minutes of screen time, so I don't really care about what's going on with you right now. And finally, the last thing that felt a bit rushed would be Star-Lord and Gamora's relationship issues that they're having. I did talk about this a little bit earlier in the movie, and while it was okay at first, the fact that they argued throughout the entire movie, where you had Gamora saying, I'm not one of you, I'm not the person you remember, and he's like, you are the person I remember, and I love you so much, and they have sort of a moment towards the end, and I'm not going to get into spoilers, it's so hard to talk about this movie, but ultimately, it doesn't go where you want it to go as a fan. And yeah, that's a problem I have, because I don't know if we're going to get a Guardians of the Galaxy movie Volume 4. And if we do, I don't know if we'll get all these characters back. And so the way they end this movie is a good send-off for the characters, but the way they end this movie, they just kind of leaves a lot of things up in the air. And I don't know how I feel about that. That's the bulk of my dislikes for this movie. Like I said, the overarching dislike I have is that some elements felt rushed, some key elements, and those are the ones. You got Star-Lord's relationship, you've got Adam Warlock's character, and the High Evolutionary. I wish we had gotten a little bit more of them over the last couple of years, so that when we got to this Guardians of the Galaxy movie, I would understand why they were doing what they were doing, and it wouldn't just feel like a couple of throwaway storylines because James Gunn was trying to put everything in the same movie. I do have one more dislike, and this is the spoilery thing that I was talking about. So I'm going to throw a spoiler tag up right now, and I will tell you guys that if you don't want to be spoiled, maybe you haven't seen the movie, skip this portion of the video, skip past the spoiler part. I promise I'll talk about a little bit more after it. But my dislike for this movie that is spoiler related would be that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and I'm warning you now, so I'm warning you, here we go, doesn't kill anybody. And they've kind of been alluding to one of the Guardians is going to die, and then all of the online chatter has been, oh my god, I cried so much in this movie, I couldn't believe what they did. And I was like, all right, somebody's dying here. They're either killing Rocket or they're killing Drax, because those are like the two emotionally invested characters I feel like people have. They're like, I love Drax or I love Rocket, but ultimately all of the Guardians live. Now, I don't necessarily need them to kill someone, but I don't know if that means that the online reaction was just a little overrated and a little overhyped. Now, my expectations of what's going to happen to characters shouldn't necessarily be on James Gunn or the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. That's on me, I understand that. But I just wish that after seeing a movie, the people that get to see the movies early wouldn't go to the rest of us and be like, I cried, I couldn't believe like what they did. Like, there were some moments that were sad, but there was nothing in this movie that made me like feel something. I don't know, maybe I'm dead inside. That could be it. I'm going to take the spoiler tag down now. Overall, guys, I will say that Guardians of the Galaxy is a fun, enjoyable time. You'll enjoy the comedy. You'll enjoy the action scenes. You'll enjoy the characters that we have grown to love over the past several Marvel movies. And it has a conclusion for each individual character, whether it's good or bad for that character. See, that's me not spoiling anything. I can find some appreciation in how they ended this movie, and I am looking forward to see what they do with some of these characters going forward. And that's my review for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Guys, if you enjoyed this review, don't forget, hit the like button for me. It helps this channel. Don't forget to hit that share button, because maybe your friends want to see this. Maybe you're like, hey, check out this guy's review of this movie. That's fine. You can do that. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do that. I have a lot of content on my channel, and I'd love for you to check all of it out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for spending time with me today. This has been a little bit longer of a review, but I feel like Marvel movies need that. We've got 32 movies in the mix. We got to talk a little bit longer. Thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time. Well, guys, we made it to the end of the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 review, and I've actually got a question for you. Do you have Marvel's fatigue? Do you have MCU fatigue? I have a little bit of it. I will be honest. I've been a fan since Robert Downey Jr. said, I am Iron Man, and then they started the Avengers Initiative, and I've been a fan ever since. And then after Endgame, I feel like Marvel took a little bit of a step down. And I loved Spider-Man No Way Home, but a lot of that was nostalgia for movies that aren't even in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then we got Doctor Strange, which again, a little bit of nostalgia for characters that aren't even in the MCU. And I'm like, all right, well, what are you giving me now? Because I feel like you keep giving me content that I get very excited for. I go see it and I'm like, all right, that was a movie. And I don't feel like I should feel like that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But what are your thoughts? I'd love to know in the comment section down below. Hey, if you like this video, don't forget I have other reviews on my channel. Right there, you can check out all my 2022 reviews. And right there, you can check out all my 2023 reviews. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time.